Greetings and welcome to WinWin Live. I am J. Ian Burbeck, contributing editor at Light Reading. Today we have Martin Creaner, Director General of the WBBA, with us to share his experiences and insights on Net 5.5G, the newly released Gigabit City 2025 Index, and more. We also have a special guest joining our conversation. WinWin is an AI agent who will bring some unique insights, and I suspect might be auditioning for my job. Hey WinWin, before we kick things off, have you got any hot takes on Net 5.5G that you'd like to share?
Net 5.5G is the next generation broadband upgrade, featuring faster connectivity, a stronger backbone network, and smarter management. It enables the intelligent interconnection of all things and accelerates the building of a real intelligent world.
WinWin has also prepared a special ending for this interview, which we'll reveal together at the end of the video. So let's jump in. Martin, I'd like to first talk about your recently published Net 5.5G white paper. The WBBA is looking beyond just broadband access to address the entire connectivity chain from users to applications. Could you walk us through what Net 5.5G is and why it's so important?
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. I think when we talk about Net 5.5G, what we're looking at is how do we manage networks from end to end? A lot of the conversation in broadband is about how fast the speed is into the campus or into the home. And we talk about 1 gigabit or 10 gigabits or whatever. But the reality is the quality of experience is going to require a well-tuned network that runs right from the campus, right across the backbone network, and all the way into the data center. And if you don't have that really well-constructed end-to-end network, you won't get good quality for the users in the home or in the campus. And so we've defined Net 5.5G as essentially being 10 gigabit per second in the campus or home, and then a backbone network that carries around 400 gigabits and a 400 gigabit Ethernet network within the data center. And you need all of those three elements in order to deliver an excellent quality of service. And that's why Net 5.5G is so important. It's the very first piece of work that's looking entirely end-to-end across the full network rather than just in the access or in the data center or somewhere else. It's also very important that we've been using technologies like Wi-Fi 7 and define that within Net 5.5G. And we've been working closely with other industry organizations to define the high quality Net 5.5G network.
I'll move on to the second question. Looking ahead, what's the roadmap for Net 5.5G? Are there plans to help the industry recognize and adopt it? And will you be providing practical guidelines to help companies actually implement this?
So we published the first version of Net 5.5G back around June 2024. And that really defined the architecture, that end-to-end architecture I'm talking about, which is what it looks like at 10 gigabits at the home or the campus, and 400 gigabits on the backbone network, and 400 gigabits in the data center network. But that's really just an architecture. The next stage, which we're actually publishing this week, almost like a user's guide or a set of case studies that describe how to actually put something like this in place. And user's guide is made up of case studies from operators all around the world who have begun that implementation journey towards Net 5.5G. It is led by Working Group 4 of the World Broadband Association. As you know, the World Broadband Association is the global industry body for fixed broadband challenges right across the world. We have 160 members in about 55 different countries. And we have a set of work groups, and Work Group 4 has been the work group that has defined Net 5.5G and now is releasing this set of user guides or case studies for how to actually implement and deploy Net 5.5G in a practical sense in the networks around the world.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think actually having case studies for people to refer to is really important for rollout. How closely, actually, are you monitoring market adoption of Net 5.5G, and what trends are you seeing so far?
It's not an easy thing to do. Net 5.5G is a challenge for any operator to implement. And so obviously we work closely with, as I mentioned earlier, people like the IPv6 forum and on their, with implementing technologies like SRv6 and IPv6. But back in November, we launched a program we call the Pioneer program, which is really trying to look at what are the implementations that are happening around the world. Who are the leading companies? Who are the leading places or geographies? And who are the leading individuals who are implementing 5.5G, Net 5.5G right across the world? And when we have those in place, we can work with those people who become essentially champions for helping the rest of the industry to implement Net 5.5G. So as I say, the pioneers are cities, are regions, they're people, and they're companies. And I think this is one of the key mechanisms we're using to keep track of the progress of Net 5.5G and in its commercial deployments.
Brilliant. The WBBA publishes numerous reports throughout the year. Yet, you chose to release the Gigabit City index during MWC. What was the thinking behind the timing?
Well, first of all, let me tell you a bit more about the WBBA. As I say, it's got 160 or so member companies spread across 55 or 60 countries of the world, and it's growing really rapidly. And we expect it to be essentially the only global industry organization that's addressing the needs of the fixed broadband industry from a business development and advocacy point of view. And as part of that, we have a whole load of working groups that address different needs of this industry. We've just talked about Net 5.5G, and we've got Working Group 4 has been leading that. But we also develop a lot of really interesting indices for the industry. And when I say indices, we have one called the Broadband and Cloud Development Index, which ranks countries across the world in terms of how sophisticated they are in terms of broadband and cloud. We have the Fiber Development Index, which ranks how well countries across the world are implementing and deploying fiber. And we've just started to release gigacities because we're finding gigacities to become a really important measure of how well a country is prepared to really take the next step in the the digital revolution. And so we're releasing our Gigacities report, and this is the first Gigacities report anywhere in the world that ranks about 30 of the major cities across the world in terms of how sophisticated they are in rolling out broadband at a gigabit and higher level in cities to support enterprises and consumers.
So what makes the Gigabit City 2025 index significant in your opinion, and how do you expect it will actually influence industry decisions going forward?
It's very important. In many respects, we talk about technology as if it is the technology that we deliver to individual companies and users as being important. But one of the major groupings that operators and suppliers need to face into are countries and, more importantly, cities. And businesses make decisions based on the quality of the broadband in those cities and the quality of connectivity in those cities. For the first time, what we've created here in our Gigacity report is a very clear way of ranking cities in terms of their ability to accommodate the needs of growing businesses. And so the Gigacity report might rank somewhere like Singapore is at the very top, or Shanghai is very high up there, or Dubai. But there's many or cities right across the world in different countries. And I think we've just picked one city in each country to start off with. But ultimately, what I would hope that this evolves into is a mechanisms for cities to advertise themselves to the world as being excellent places to do business. And we'll start to see some surprises emerging in those cities. We'll see excellent cities emerge in poorer parts of the developing world. So not all of the excellent cities are going to be in the developed world. And so that's why we see this as being so important.
Fascinating. Was there any city that was a particular surprise?
We're seeing at the moment, I think in our first 30 cities that we have chosen, we have chosen ones that we know are already making very good progress on becoming gigacities. I think as we move into the next phase, we will start adding in surprises. Some excellent cities, say like Bahrain, city in Bahrain, which received one of the WBBA awards for an emerging gigacity. And that city is moving really rapidly and may well be starting to challenge cities like Singapore or Dubai over the next few years. But really, I think what we're starting on a journey of creating a place where cities can advertise their wares. And maybe we will start to see some really big surprises in version 2. Version 1 is maybe not as, doesn't surprise people when they see Singapore at the top or Shanghai at the top, but the next few versions will start becoming very interesting.
WinWin, having listened to our chat about Net 5.5G and gigabit cities, what's the most exciting thing an AI agent like yourself could do with all of this fancy connectivity?
The most exciting potential lies in real-time collaboration. With Net 5.5G's low latency and 10 gigabits per second access, and more cities become gigacity, AI agents like me could orchestrate smart city operations, optimize global IoT networks, or even enable instant multilingual AR consultations. Imagine AI-driven industrial intranets where humans and agents co-create solutions seamlessly. That's the future we're accelerating.
Now it's time for that surprise that I promised. Let's reveal the special ending from WinWin. Nice. Thank you for your artwork, WinWin. It was very nice. Martin, thank you for sharing your expertise with us today. I think the collaborative work being done by the WBBA is absolutely vital for realizing the potential of AI applications and smart cities for that matter. And it sounds like this is going to be a pretty big year for the WBBA. I'm sure you're going to be very busy. So I'm looking forward to catching up with you again at next year's MWC. And thank you for joining us here at WinWin Live. See you next time.